Together. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Chinmayam Yapyat Sarvam Trilokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata Chapita Tvameva Tvameva bandhuscha sakha tvameva Tvameva vidyadaravinam Tvameva Tvameva sarvam mama deva deva Tvameva sarvam mama deva deva. Jai Guru. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Mahavidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Who remembered the assignment to memorize that? So what I would recommend that you do, because you use a different part of the brain when your eye is engaged and when it's not. Let me tell you a true story. So for much of my adult life, I was a professional musician. I was a singer. And then when I was 50, I went back to school and got a master's degree. One of the reasons was because, as you get older, your voice doesn't hold up. So I wanted to start conducting. And in my graduate conducting class, the professor said, you should memorize your scores because a different part of the brain gets used when you memorize something than when you're engaging your eye. And I rolled my eyes and I said, yeah. So, yes, I memorized my final. It was a movement from Handel's Messiah, and I marked the score and colored pencils like we were taught to do. Well, then in 2000, I lose my sight. And I was still a professional musician. I had another 14 years working as a professional musician, largely as the music director at St. Augustine's Catholic Church on Alcatraz in Oakland. I had to memorize everything. Damn it if he wasn't right. You don't hear better because you're blind, but you hear differently. And I did major works for a Requiem, Vivaldi Gloria, all the Triduum music, all this sort of stuff. I did it all from memory. I had to, I didn't have a choice. But it was different. So when I suggest that you memorize this and not use your eyes for literal stuff, the chant will internalize differently. And I'm direct proof of it. So trust me with this. So try and next week, if it's not memorized, you're not gonna get a grade. Try. Try. In Indian music, it's not a literate tradition. It is a bit now, as but old-timey, traditional Indian music, it's always the teacher lines it out, and then the student memory responds. When you were studying violin sound, did you study, you were doing Indian music, weren't you?
Yeah, yes.
And was it an oral tradition? Or did you read music?
A little bit of, oh no, it was oral. There was
Oral?
no reading.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So many, many cultures are that way. We find it even today coming out of West Africa. Anybody here ever sung in a gospel choir? The tradition is it's not done reading sheet music. That's Eurocentric tradition. It's not bad. It just uses a different part of the brain. So try it. Just try it. All right. Before we get into the text, anybody have any questions about any of the material that we've covered? Anything that's come up in your meditation?
A question about meditation.
Sure.
Um, when you reach a somewhat quiet mind and you are able to distinguish between awareness and thought and be there quietly, what do you recommend your next move be? Do you just focus on the awareness
You
and
just
try?
stay there. When your mind gets quiet, don't mess with it. Don't worry, the thoughting will come back.
No, it comes back, but it seems kind of almost like an ever permanent state of nothingness.
If you have a permanent state of nothingness, you're doing
Or
very
what
well.
I should say, in between state of listening to my mind, but ignoring it and being quiet at the same time.
Yeah.
Just stay there.
It's more of a not do than a do. I think I've used the example of the treasure ship, the Atocha, and the gold crucifix that was found on it. Did I use that story here?
I think so. Week one, I think.
Yeah. So it was just a lump when you saw it on TV. And so they soaked it in this solution, which killed the barnacles. So it was about getting rid of things. So many of us are geared to self-will. I'm going to storm heaven. I got to find the next thing to do, to acquire, to accomplish. And we have the term purushartha or paurusha. We does take our own self-effort. But I think a better example of this, anybody here ever taken a dance class? Yes, no?
Yes.
So how have you done in doing pirouettes? How many pirouettes can you do?
0.
Yeah,
How many? 0.
it's hard, isn't it? And you work and work and work to find the place where you don't work. Most reasonably good ballet dancers do 4 or 5. But what you have to do is find that still point, and then your body turns around it. It's not about being strong. It's about being centered. Now, there was a movie that came out, God, it has to be 30 years ago now. I think it was called White Nights with Mikhail Baryshnikov. Anybody seen that? He does 11 pirouettes in street shoes. They never take the camera off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11. Just your jaw drops. Let's see. So meditation is closer to that. It's not about getting something. It's about not doing, not acquiring, not achieving. We work very hard to find the place where we don't work. This is the deeper meaning of renunciation. Someone was telling me that they went to the Mahakumbha Mela. Setu was here for the potluck for Shivaratri, and he'd gone to the Mahakumbha Mela. Huge, huge festival. There's all these people who are like sticking needles through their skin and lying on beds of nails and all this sort of stuff. That gets us nowhere. That gets us nowhere. The renunciation that we need to do is quit believing the mind. And the mind, it's kind of above the neck and below the neck. Above the neck is all our doubts, our confusions, our misunderstandings, getting that all cleared out. But below the neck in the heart is to give up the struggler. Technical term is kartavya, which literally means obligatory action. But in the yoga tradition, in the Vedanta tradition, it means the cessation of struggle. Now, if you've accomplished a lot in your life, motivated by willpower and self-will, who's lived life from that viewpoint and been somewhat successful? Oh, it's tough. Those of us who are ne'er-do-wells, I think, have a little bit easier time of it. I've never been successful with self-will. All it's ever done is get me in trouble. Had to take the path of surrender. Just don't do something, sit there. We find so much of that willing and achieving and accomplishing. That's the problem. So Sound was late coming home from work on her way over. If you're like many of us, were you pushing the traffic down the street with your heart? I'm gonna be late for class. You ever have that feeling, any of you?
Yes.
And then does that make the traffic go any faster? No, it's not a solution. So, Daryl, what holds the mind in its chatter, its place, is attachment and identification. So, those of us who've made our way through Viveka Chudamani, and I think you've been studying that still, aren't you?
Yeah.
So go all the way back to the qualifications of a fit student, being adhikari. And what's the first qualification of a fit student?
Discernment.
Discrimination. Brahma Satyam Jagan Mitya Dhyeti Rupo Vinishchayaha Soyam Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka Samudaritaha. It's important enough that I memorized it. That firm conviction in the intellect that Brahman alone is real, awareness alone is real, and that the phenomenal world is mitya, illusory, is known as discrimination between the real and the unreal. We worked on that. I am the eternal subject, that witnessing consciousness, that pure awareness. I am not any of the cognizable objects. Then vairagya. Remember what vairagya is?
Detachment.
Yes. That desire, because we don't do it overnight. Shankara realizes, or weak yogis, that desire to give up attachment to all experiences gained through the senses. You can't get rid of the sense experiences. It's impossible. The problem is not the presence of sense objects. The problem is my attachment, my aversion, and that desire to give up identification with any form of self, starting with the body up to and including what Shankar says is the form of Brahma, the creator, meaning I'm a powerful, important person. No personal sense of self is real. My commitment to dropping that. Now, one of the most insidious ones is when I get identified with the spiritual seeker. I think I'm going to get a 5-syllable unpronounceable name. You can call me Beyond Ananda. How about that? I have a long beard. Swamiji used to stroke his beard, and he said, the longer the beard, the more you should mistrust. Oh, am I getting close? Maybe I know the self. I'm realized. And maybe I should have people touch my feet. Oh, you don't respect me the way I should be respected because I'm a man or a woman of knowledge. All that is bullpucky. Don't try to be a spiritual person. No, you are Brahman, that ground of being, that witnessing consciousness. It's so much less burdensome. Phew.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So I think I get the part about you're not an object. Um, the part that I have trouble with is how do you kind of what about other people that you see around you?
Good question.
And so one argument is, well, they're all Brahman, everybody's Brahman. It doesn't feel like that.
I know. And that's the fruit of ignorance. That's the fruit of my judgments. It's my mind that says right, wrong, just, unjust, evil, virtuous, pleasurable, misery producing. That's all my mind. For example, is the speed of light good or bad? You sure? And if you don't like it, is that going to change it? So look at the political figures. They have come about in the inevitable course of events of what we call karma. That doesn't mean not to do our best to make a difference in the world. Doesn't mean not to be a jerk, just out of compassion for other people. But the ground of being is the same. You see the room from your viewpoint, I see the room from mine. You are aware of your body. I'm aware of my body. You are aware of your thoughts and feelings. I'm aware of my thoughts and feelings. But as it were, if you look behind your eyes and notice the knower, there's no person there. There's just Chidakasha, the space of pure awareness. And when I look behind my eyes and notice the knower, I have the same experience.
But how do we know it's the same awareness?
Because anybody who's bothered to look has that same experience. And in the end, it doesn't matter. I mean, if you were a devout Hindu, I would say, Shruti says so. But what you know for sure is you can find out that you are witnessing consciousness. What do you think everybody else is? Little gray ball with wings? That's not logical. But what we're invited to do is don't get so wrapped up in the upadhis, the equipment. So I don't like the behavior of a person. That's just a stupid opinion of mine. Don't believe your opinions. Not saying they're right and we're wrong. I did not say that. I said it's just energy moving. It's just the light show. But the self in them is Brahman. Now that's just a hypothesis. In the tradition, we make a distinction between what we call paroksha jnanam, indirect knowledge, which you hear from the teacher and from the scripture, and aparoksha jnanam, direct experience. When you realize yourself, you will realize the self in everybody. Now, in the beginning, you don't have to take it on faith. You take it as a hypothesis, as a scientist. But you have to perform the experiment. Now, any of you know the great 20th century sage Nisargadatta Maharaj?
Yes.
Yes. So his sadhana, now he was, simple fellow, householder. His father had been a servant. He himself ran a cigarette shop in Mumbai and lived in a flat above it. And his guru said, "You are Brahman, believe me." And Nisargadatta Maharaj was a simple man. And he believed his teacher. His teacher died soon after that. And his whole sadhana is, who are you? What's your essential nature? Is this helpful?
Yes.
But what happens is you and I get caught up in the behavior of the body, the nature of the speech, in the sensory data. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it never touches the self. All right. Verse 27, is that right? Is that where we are?
Yes.
All right. Will you help us out, please, Sound?
Rajju sarpa vadatmanam jivam nyatva bhayam vahet naham jivam paratmeti nyatash bhayo bhavet. Just as a person who regards a rope as a snake is overcome by fear, so also one considering oneself as the ego is overcome by fear.
Yes.
The egocentric individuality in us becomes fearless by realizing that it is not a jiva but the supreme self.
Yes. So we've gone through that classic Shankara metaphor, snakes and ropes. Anybody not remember snakes and ropes? Dude's walking along the ground, sees a snake and is fearful. His buddy comes along and says, "No, it's a rope." Holds up a lantern. He examines it. There's no snake. There's a rope. So where was the snake?
It's fine.
It's not. So this is the metaphor. So in the subtle intellect, in the vijnana maya kosha, there's this function called karta, the agent, the doer, and the enjoyer. Its job is to attribute to the self that pure witness, that space, a consciousness, the qualities of the not self. The technical term is called adhyasa, superimposition. So I arises, I think I'm a person. And then that's identified with the body. That's called the bija vasana, the seed attachment. So I think I'm the body, or I'm the body plus the body's history, my thoughts, my feelings. And this gives rise to the feeling that I'm a person. Jiva bhavana is the term. Bhavana means a feeling or a thought. Now, it's not just like, oh, I'm a piece of crap. It's so much more rich and complicated. It's far more like what happens in hypnotism, or even better, what happens in a dream. In a dream, I call a dream is mini Maya. It's a microcosm of what happens macrocosmically. I am the waker. I put on my jammies, I drink my chamomile tea, and I get sleepy, and I go to bed. Then what happens? I go to sleep, which is pure ignorance. What am I ignorant of in deep sleep? That I'm the waker. Then what happens? The mind projects. It refracts, just like if sunlight hits a prism and you get the spectrum. What does it do? In the dream, I have a dream body with which I'm identified. And I peep out at a dream world from that dream body. And inside, I have reactions, I have thoughts and feelings. I have just as much an experience of multiplicity as I'm doing right here, right now. So, what the scriptures are saying, this is no different. Now, whether or not the sofa is real, I wouldn't worry about that right now. Far more important is, am I an individual? Am I a person? And one of the words that we have for this fake self, this phony self, is chaya. What's chaya? It's the same word in Hindi.
Shadow.
Shadow. So the practice is, if I have this introversion of the mind's attentive faculty, and I go looking for this person that I'm convinced that I am, it's like shining a light on a shadow. So we've got the lamp here. You can probably see that my foot casts a shadow on the carpet. If I got a flashlight out and said, I want to illuminate the shadow because you can't see it very well, what happens if I shine a light on the shadow? Disappears. So also, if you go looking for this person, understanding if it can be objectively cognized, that's not me. We worked on that. Go looking for this person that I think I am, and it falls. I can't find a person. All I can find is witnessing consciousness. Now, both bondage and liberation occur to the mind. Yourself is ever free. What is my bondage? My bondage is nothing more than the deeply rooted conviction that I'm bound, meaning I think I'm a person. I think I'm my body. And when I have that jiva bhavana, the term I've been using lately is it's a condition of spiritual impoverishment. I'm not enough, there's not enough. And then the solution that my mind presents to me is fix it. Either try to fix or change the world, they're all doing it wrong, or fix or change me if I'm taller or thinner or smarter or more educated or more enlightened. I'll be happy when, it'll be better if. All of that struggling has as its root that I think I'm a person. So what the yogi wants to do is understand, if I think I'm a person, I'm deluded. And everything my mind presents to me as a solution to my discontent is at best temporary and frequently not effective at all. Drop the jiva bhavana. Who am I? Stop. Introvert the attentive faculty. In the space between your thoughts. Who are you? Jim, there's nothing there. That's right. What is liberation? Nothing more than the deeply rooted conviction in the mind, technically the subtle intellect, based on direct experience, not just vain repetition. There's nobody home, but the lights are on. So the import of this verse is there's this aha that occurs in the subtle intellect. One of the words for the subtle intellect is buddhi. When this pratyabhijnanam takes place, that means recognition, the buddhi becomes buddha. away. So it's the mind itself that sees the unreality of any personal sense of self. It's gone. Don't believe me. Now, both bondage and liberation occurred in the mind. The self is ever free. When are you ever not you? How do you know you are you? You do not see, hear, taste, touch, or smell yourself. You're not a feeling. You're not a thought. Yet you're not unknown. It is like trying to see your eyes. Nobody's ever seen their eyes. Well, if I haven't seen my eyes, I don't have eyes. That's nonsense. Of course you have eyes. You do not doubt that you see. All right, next verse,
Can I ask you
please.
before we move on? So when something traumatic happens in a lifetime, the spirit leaves the body because it can't tolerate the experience of it.
Well, what do you mean by spirit?
Maybe consciousness.
No, the subtle body leaves. Remember when we did the stuff about the glass is the physical body, the liquid in the glass is the subtle body, but you are like the space. So let's have a trauma to the glass. If the glass breaks and the water leaves, what happens to the space? Hmm?
It dissipates, it grows, it stays the same.
It doesn't change in the least. Okay, you see the space in the glass here?
Mhm.
Magic trick. Am I moving space? Did I?
Mhm.
What happened to the space? Oh, I gotta catch it up. No, you go nowhere. Now, do we have out of the body experiences? Do people disassociate in the face of trauma? Of course they do,
That's what I mean by spirit leaving the body, disassociate.
but it's the mind that's doing that. It's not yourself. And if you've worked with someone who's had that experience, are you aware when you're in the body? Uh-huh. When you're out of the body and you feel like you're not present and everything is distant and you're completely shut down and disassociated, are you not aware of it? Oh, yeah. To whom is all this happening? I'm not saying that people do not have trauma, terrible experiences, and there's not deep psychological impact from it. We've had them for lifetimes. And there are ways to work on healing that. But what you're healing is the mind, not yourself. And Swamiji used to thunder this. In the end, the best way to heal the mind is to get out of the mind, to see that I'm always the untouched, perfectly safe witness. Nothing ever really touches me.
This is true. And to heal from that experience, whatever words we use to describe it, it's almost as if there needs to be a returning to the body and to the senses in order to
That is certainly a very valid way. I am not a mental health professional, I'm a yogi.
I guess I'm trying to understand the language used to explain one, how it's explained in this context.
In this context, it's like nesting dolls. So you have a physical body. It's called the Annamaya Kosha, the food tube. The next layer is the energy body, Pranamaya Kosha. You know, and when people are heavily depressed and stuff like that, it affects the energy body. Inside that is the Manomaya Kosha, the mental sheath. Inside that is the intellectual sheath, the Vijnanamaya Kosha. That's where the ego sense resides. Now, what is the transmigrating soul? What is the spirit that leaves the body? It is the combination of part of the prana, the subtle form of the senses, the mind, the intellect, and the ego sense. And that pops right out of the physical body in the face of trauma. You're absolutely right. It also can do so by yogis who practice acquiring what we call siddhis. People who do, I think the Western people call it astral projection, where you have a conscious exit from the body, you go visit something somewhere else. If you've known anybody who's done any lucid dreaming, where they teleport isn't the right, what's the word I'm trying to find?
Maybe just
Astral projection is what they call it in the West. It's the same thing that's going places. People who've had near-death experiences. You know, they drown, and the next thing you know, they're 30 feet above their body and they see the EMTs working on their physical body. What is it that's 30 feet above the body? That's not the self, that's the subtle body. Your self is something that's untouched. Now, that may not be your experience yet, but if you keep introverting your attention, keep looking for that sense of I, you'll find it. I promise you.
So if I am aware of myself over there, but my body is here,
You're not aware of yourself over there. You're aware of your subtle body over there. If you think it's yourself, it's because you're identified with the subtle body, which most of us are. Just like people who are identified with the physical body.
gotcha.
And
Very good question.
can I make a question?
Please.
And when we die, we using the subtle body too, or how do they obviously teach about it?
Exactly. So Vedanta yoga posits the doctrine of reincarnation, kind of, meaning what is the cause of taking up a physical body? The physical body is an instrument for the garnering of experience and the satisfaction of desires. That's what causes me to take up a body. And when the body wears out, the grosser parts of the mind fall away as well as the physical body. But the subtle body then goes to one of the various lokas. Loka, almost untranslatable word. It means location.
A different being.
Hmm?
It's almost like a different being.
Dimension.
Different plane, yes. Yes. We get the English word locus or location from the same root. So, and they talk about heaven realms and hell realms, Nadika hell realms, Swarga heaven realms. But in Hindu thought, these are always temporary. and you work out some of your unresolved karmas, and then impelled by your desires, you take birth again in a womb. Maybe this time it'll be better. I'll be happy when, it'll be better if. And that goes on for millions of lifetimes.
Whoa,
Go ahead.
whoa, millions of lifetimes.
Oh, yeah. And the Hindu scriptures say, you started off as a grain of rice. You went through being an insect and a lizard. You might have even been a tree. And then finally you become, a Komodo dragon, and you might work your way up to a dog. And then finally you attain a human birth. Now, you don't have to believe in all this stuff. It's not necessary. You can use it all as metaphor. So, Paulo, where were you born?
In Brazil,
In Brazil. How long did you live there?
30, 30 plus years.
Okay. You can see your lifetime in Brazil as a metaphor incarnation. Then, when you left Brazil, did you go to Europe? Did you come straight to the States?
Straight to
Yeah. So that's like another incarnation. Did you go to college?
yeah, for a time in Brazil.
Where, in Brazil?
Yeah.
So you went from high school to college. We can say that's another incarnation. So within the span of one lifetime, you can use the same teaching. You can use the same teaching. If you're completely a materialist, when a person dies, they're dead. How can I maximize the happiness in this life? It's still the same teaching. Now, the Hindu scriptures do say there is a doctrine of reincarnation, but the self does not incarnate. The best way I can explain it is, are you in the dream or is the dream in you? It feels like I'm in the dream, but actually the dream is in me. Good question.
Yes, what's the point of it all then? It's if the self is never, is untouched, nothing happens to it, it doesn't go anywhere, then why are we all suffering so much?
Because we're stupid. That's the answer. Because of Maya.
Hey,
Oh, sorry. We'll use a different word. Avidya. Because of avidya, ignorance. That's another word.
just kidding.
Because of fundamental ignorance. And this is what was meant early on by the term original sin. That's what, it carries connotations of illusion and delusion among the early church fathers, the Christian mystics. It's the way the infinite keeps the whole thing running.
I guess that must be playing some point. There must be some point to it, right? Like
Well,
even for the self, like
the self does not have a point, but the human mind does. From the moment you get up in the morning to the moment your head hits the pillow, you're only involved in one real activity: seeking the good, seeking happiness, seeking peace, and avoiding suffering. That's all we ever do. The only doubt, the only real question is, where is the good? And it takes these millions of lifetimes. It's an evolutionary process. But to ask why, what's the point, is like asking, why does a river flow from a higher elevation to a lower? What's its purpose for doing that?
To go home.
Well, it just does it. You know, a river doesn't have volition. It isn't saying, gee, I think I'm going to flow today because I want the ocean. No, that's just what it does. Water flows downhill. We all come home to the infinite. We all come home to God in time. So that's the purpose. And the divine discontent is what drives us. I want to be happy. I want to have peace. I want to have love. But in my ignorance, I think it's drugs, sex, and rock and roll. I think it's cash and prizes. I think it's more, better, different. And all that does is perpetuate the suffering. Going back to what Maya was saying earlier. So if, say, a child has a terrible trauma, sex abuse, or they're beaten as children or something like that, very interesting question is, why did the adult do that?
It's the worst question to ask.
Well, I can tell you what I've discovered in my working with people. Hurt people hurt people. In the Jewish tradition, in the Old Testament, the Jewish Bible, there's a line that says, and the sins of the fathers are visited upon the sons, even to the second and third generation. Has nothing to do with kosher law. It isn't because I ate pork. Hurt people hurt people. And these generational modes of abuse get passed down from generation to generation. Hopefully, if we are victims or we work with victims, we can break those generational cycles. And this is in no way to excuse or condone abuse. I'm not saying that. People do hurtful things because they themselves are hurting terribly. Because in truth, our natural state is a loving one. But we can sure muck it up. All right, we may have to add an extra class at the end. Okay, going on.
Atma vabhasya yat yeko buddhya di nindriyanyapi deepo ghata vivat swatma jadaistair na bhavasyate. Just as a lamp illumines a jar or a pot, so also the Atman illumines the mind, the sense organs, and so on. These material objects cannot illumine themselves by themselves because they are inert.
Yes, their jada is the word in Sanskrit, which means inert. They are not self-evident. So The body is an object of awareness. My finger doesn't know my thumb. Well, what about when I touch my thumb with my forefinger? Well, I am knowing that sensation. Well, what about if I know my sadness? Can sadness know anger? No. I know the feelings. Certainty or confusion. One thought doesn't know another thought. They're inert. They're not sentient. You are a sentient being. You are the sentient being. Going on.
Swabodhe Nanyabodhe cha Bodha Rupatya Bodha Rupatayatmanaha Nadipascha Nyadeepe cha Yatha Swatma Prakashane. A lighted lamp does not need another lamp to illumine its light. So too, Atman, which is knowledge itself, needs no other knowledge to know itself.
So, just as this lamp, the bulb is what lights the things in the room. If we turn the lights off, it's dark, you can't see anything. But I don't have to get a flashlight to light the light. It is Swayam Jyoti, self-effulgent, self-luminous. So also, yourself, the self, is that by which everything is known. But itself will never be known as an object. I have a hand, I have a nose, I have a feeling, I have a thought. I know these as objects of cognition. I do not have awareness as a possession. If awareness were another possession, then is there awareness one that's aware of awareness two? But I am not unknown. You don't know yourself the way you know an object. You are Swayam Jyoti, self-luminous. Swayambhu, self-evident. Now here's the great cosmic joke. Everybody already has that. The problem is my stupid mind. In my stupid mind, I do not realize what my essential nature is. So when I hear people come to me and say, oh, I went to Burning Man and I took ecstasy and I had an experience of the self, Jim, but I lost it. No. I'm sure you had a wonderful mind state, but that isn't it. Why? When you finally begin to see that it's you, when are you ever not you? The problem is not that I lack the experience of the self. My problem is I confuse stuff in my head. I superimpose on that direct experience all sorts of nonsense, which I think is very real. And the way out is through investigation. Slow down. Turn the mind back on its source. Self is its own means of knowledge. Next verse.
Nishidhya nikhilopadhi neti neti vakyataha vidyadaikyam mahavakyar jivatma paramatmanoha. By the process of negation of the conditionings, as per the scriptural statement, it is not this, it is not this. The oneness of the individual soul and the supreme soul, as indicated by the great Mahavakyas, has to be realized.
So a Mahavakya is a great utterance, and there are 4 of them. And we find one from each one of the Vedas. And the 4 together comprise the tersest exposition of the knowledge. First one, Prajnanam Brahma. Brahman is consciousness. Second one, I am Atma, Brahma. Well, where is this consciousness? I am Atma. This self is Brahman. Oh, Guruji, you're the self, I'm a worm. No. Number 3, Tat Tvam Asi. You are that. Who sees the AirPods? I do. That's yourself. Investigate that. The self is not something that's flying around in the sky. And the 4th one is Aham Brahmasmi. At the moment of realization, the yogi says, not I know Brahman, but I am Brahman. And the methodology that Shankara is summarizing here, we've been working on it, is neti, neti. Not iti, not iti. Not this, not this. We never say just neti, and we never do neti, neti, neti. It's always 2, neti, neti. Why? We're dealing with the microcosm and the macrocosm. So when we go not this with the microcosm, we mean you and your personal equipment, physical body, not this. Prana, energy body, not this. Feelings and judgments, not this. Thoughts, not this. Even the ego, not this. If I can see it, it is not this. Koham, who am I? Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. I am that ground of being. I'm the space of pure awareness. Now, what about this world? We could say the body of the infinite is the physical world. We call it the Jagat. Jagat means the phenomenal world. We call it Jagat because it goes Jagat, 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 Jagat. It's always moving. The whole physical phenomenal world. God is not that. Then we have the subtle, cosmic subtle world. Hiranyagarbha, literally the golden egg, the total mind. Anybody here know or ever gone to a psychic? When a psychic is reading things, in the West, they call it, oh, the Akashic record. They stole the word from Sanskrit, Akasha, space. But it's like where they're tuning in to the total mind. Anybody here read the Carl Jung Red Book? Where he had all these visions and things before the Second World War. He had premonitions. He was tuning into the total mind. All the thoughts and feelings that have ever been thoughted and felt, and that can ever be thoughted and felt. Na itty, not real. Even the cause of it all. What was it that caused the Big Bang? Total vasana. Sanskrit, we use the term Ishvara. What does Ishvara mean? The Lord. But it comes from the root ichati, which means to wish or to will. Not this. So the ground of being for the whole creation is infinite consciousness, which we call Brahman. Now listen carefully. That witnessing consciousness in you and that ground of being of the whole universe, they are the same thing. So there's the story. Where can the gods hide the truth? So humans will never find it. They can't put it on top of a mountain. No, people find it. They can't bury it in the Mariana Trench. No, they'll find it there. Where will they hide ultimate truth so that people will never find it? It's closer than hand and foot, closer than your breath, closer than your innermost thoughts. It's your very experience of I. All right, we'll do one more.
Avidyakam shariradi drishyam buddhavaksharam etad vilakshanam vidya daham brahmeti nirmalam. The body and so on, upon up to the causal body, are objects perceived, and thus they are as perishable as bubbles. Realize through discrimination that I am ever the pure Brahman, entirely different from all these.
So I am not the body. It's comes and goes, it's perishable, but most importantly, it's an object of awareness. Take a deep breath. Are you not aware of the breath in the body? You are not energy. You are not feelings. You are not thoughts. You're not even the ignorance of deep sleep. Who are you? Witnessing consciousness. It does not rise, it does not fall, it does not change. Don't believe me. Look. Okay, what verse are we on for next week?
32.
Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om.